Yeah, let's get this started. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm just getting some things set up. I was a little bit disconnected getting things set up here. So do me a favor. If you're around, if you're listening, put in chat where you're listening from. Let me know if you're hearing me. I got a microphone that I just plugged in. I'm hoping it's coming through. I tried to do a test. I'm gonna bring it up on another screen so I can see it. We shall see. But hopefully you're here for some information about SD cards. That's what we're going to talk about. That's the gist of this call. So whether we get visitors or not, we are going to cover some things about SD cards. SD cards are something we use in our cameras. So if you're watching this recording later, put in the chat down below where you're listening from also. That would be awesome. So let's talk about SD cards for a few minutes. I've got a web page that I will share with you here shortly, and you see it flashed on the screen there a second ago. But we're going to talk about SD cards and how many should you have. I've got a video that covers a little bit more detail that we're going to cover today. But while I'm waiting for a few to show up, I'll look at the comments and see if anyone showed up yet or not. It doesn't look like we have anyone in here yet, but we hopefully will get a few here. But let me find a website. I've got it. I just need to do a share, and I am going to share. Let's see if it'll let me share what I want to share. And I will share screen 2. Actually, no, we're gonna share a web page here. We will right now. We're going to share a couple things about me. The first thing I'm going to share is where you can find our club. My club is in Hidden Valley Lake in Indiana. This page here is not very. It doesn't change a whole lot. It's very static. We just had our meeting, but we had some thunderstorms that kind of precluded that, so we had a small discussion. But our meetings are the first Monday of every month. So if you're in the southeast Indiana area, it's not limited to just Hidden Valley. I am working on a trip to Tyson Methodist Church. It's a church in Versailles, Indiana. It's a pretty cool church. It's got some Egyptian theme to it. The church is built with no nails. So it's going to be a really cool trip. I've been interacting with the staff there via email, and they're setting up a date. It'll probably be a Saturday morning. At first, it was only weekdays, but they said they would accommodate us for a Saturday morning. So like I said, if you're southeastern Indiana, make sure you check us out. All right, cool. Figure out how to get my mouse back. Awesome. So let's remove that. So let's talk about SD cards. First thing, number one, you need more than one SD card. Even if you're a beginning photographer, you need more than one SD card. I would recommend 2 or 3. I don't have a link ready, but I'll put a link down below in the comments of where you can find SD cards on Amazon. Highly recommend you do not buy them from Walgreens, CVS. Walgreens and CVS has them, but they're uber expensive, 2, 3, 4 times the cost of what they really are on Amazon or Walmart. But if you're in a pinch and you have no SD cards, and then by all means, go to Walgreens and pick up an SD card in a pinch. With the SD cards, if you got more than one, I've got a pack. You heard me opening it up here. All right, so inside here, I've got a pouch, and you can see several SD cards. I got a couple empty spots. I double them up, so these pouches will hold 2. But we'll talk about different kinds of SD cards. You can get really cheap ones, and you can get really expensive ones. If you're a beginning photographer, you don't need the uber expensive ones, but you really don't want the uber cheap ones. So a couple of things I do to make sure I have good SD cards. Number one, I always keep it in my camera. And I heard a tip on a YouTube channel that I've been doing already for quite a long time. When I take my SD card out of my camera, I leave the camera door open. And when I go to pick up my camera, if the door is open, I know I don't have a memory card, so I need to go get it. So even if I'm taking it out for a little bit, I should be okay. I will remember to put it back in. But part of my routine when I go out to take photos is, are my batteries charged? Do I have more than one battery? Where are my SD cards? I got multiple camera bags, so I'm taking them in and out all the time. So it's kind of it's in my brain. I always check. But a good way to make sure you don't forget an SD card, especially if you only have one, when you take it out of your camera, you'll pop the door open, leave that door open, position it so it doesn't damage the door. And then once you're done moving the photos off of your camera onto your computer, put it back in your camera. That way it's there waiting for you. So let's talk about some different SD cards. And to do that, I need to share a page with you guys again. Share my screen. This takes me just a minute to find what I want to share. And I believe this is it. There's multiple tabs there. And as you can see, here is the screen. So I'm going to give it a few seconds to show up on my other monitor over here because I want to make sure that you guys can see it. Now, I've got a large monitor here to my left, and sure enough, it popped up for me. So we are there. So I'm going to walk you through some things here. This is sdcard.org. It seemed pretty reputable. The information was accurate. And we're going to keep it simple. You can find some SD card explanations of what the different speeds are, and it gets really complicated. This site keeps it quite simple for us. So let's just scroll down and look at some speed classes. So first, the SD cards are got a common shape. This is an old card here. If you can see it, it is just a very, very small card. This one happens to be 64 gig, but it's a very low end card because it was a video course or a photography course I purchased. It wasn't expensive, and the SD card they put it on was a very, very low end card. But what you want to look for, excuse me, what you want to look for are some symbols on the SD cards. And let's zoom this in so we can see it a little bit better. So here is a speed class mark. It's a letter C. Now the red circle is not on your card. They just put a red circle to identify what you're looking at. So you can kind of make out the letter C with a 10 in the middle. That means it should do 10 megabits per second. Write speed. This here is a letter U for a UHS, ultra high speed class. So that's 3. That's going to be 30 megabits per second. This is a video classification, not as important to us if we're just doing photography, but if you're going to do some video, you want to look at the video classification so that you get a good enough speed for it. I get a kick out of the cameras here. Those are pretty archaic nowadays, but that's what they are. The description is very good. So let's scroll down here a little bit more. And there's some videos, but I liked this chart here. They give you the image of the card. You got a speed class, UHS, and video speed. UHS is ultra high speed. There are several different SD cards. The capacity is from 2 gigabytes all the way up to 2 terabytes. So just to give you some advice on the size of card that you want to look at is probably worst case 8 gigabytes or more. I would recommend you get at least 32 if you can, but if you're on a budget, 8 gigabytes will probably suffice, and you can get them pretty cheap in a 3, 4, or 5 pack. But you can take a look at these different classes, and they put the symbols here for you for 10 megabytes per second, rather not bits, megabytes per second, 6 megabytes per second, and 4 megabytes. These are 30 and 10 with the U. That's for a different type of bus that is actually inside the card. So it's a little bit faster, has some better capabilities. The video cards, V90. So you can kind of equate, this is more of a video page because they're telling you where can you use videos. And you can see on the low end cards, you're not going to get 8K to work on this low end card at all. A 4K video, it's kind of losing its punch. You might be able to do HD and standard on the best standard card over here. So to get good video quality, you need a V30 or higher, most likely, if you want to have any success. If you're not doing 8K video, 30 and 60 is probably fine. If you're doing 8K, you go to 90. But we're photographers, so what you want to look for is a 3 or a 10. You want one of those at the high end. If you're trying to save a little bit of money, you go down to 1 or 6. And where would what would happen if you go down further on the list? If your budget's real tight, you need to move it. By all means, go down and get the cheaper card. when you look at your camera, start learning statistics or start playing with it, you hold that shutter button down and it rapid fires. And you might have a camera that does 6 photos per second. The higher end cameras can do over 100 photos per second. It's faster than movie speed, but you're not going to need all that. I very seldom need 100 photos per second. My camera can do in the 30s per second, I believe, or higher, but I seldom need that. So when you start going down this rate here, you're going to lose some of that speed. The other thing you might notice is if you do a burst, you're not going to be able to take a picture for several seconds as the camera buffers. It's just kind of like the internet. When you're watching a video back in the day, when the internet was slow enough, you start watching the video, and that video is, you got the circle. The video is, it's buffering, so you got to wait for it to download. The same thing happens with the camera. You buy a low end card that only does 2 megabits per second, and you do a burst of photos, it's going to fill that buffer up in no time, and then you're going to have to wait 2, 3, maybe even 10 seconds before that buffer gets cleared. So the higher the speed you can go, the better off. Almost all the cards you can get now, I mean, with inflation, some costs went up. So when I check, I'll put in the link down below with the price. Take it back. I won't put the price because by the time you watch this, it might be a year from now or something, and the price won't even match. But about a year ago, a 3-pack of 32 gigabyte with the 10 megabytes per second was under $10 or under $20 rather. So with 3 of them, the actual cost was about $6 a card. It really wasn't that bad, and Amazon's free shipping, so I think it was $19.95. So you can do the math. 20 divided by 3 is a little bit less than $7 a card. So that's pretty awesome. So a couple things you can do with memory cards, SD cards, whatever you want to call them. So number one, have more than one. Have 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. As you see in my pack, I've got multiple cameras. They all have an SD card in them, so you didn't see all my memory cards. I have lots of them. One thing I haven't done yet, and I'll probably be doing this soon, is I'm going to get some low-end video or memory cards. I keep saying video because of this. I'll get some low-end memory cards, maybe with a 6. Might be 10 because they're cheap enough. And put 2 of them in a plastic baggie and put it in my glove box in my vehicle. Yeah, it gets hot, but it might be out somewhere. You might have driven somewhere and your memory card is full, or your memory card just broke. So it might be something worth having. So the other thing I do is I do have the pack, and the pack stays with me no matter where I go. That pack goes in my backpack, and it does tie up nicely. And it's got a lanyard, and I need an Allen wrench for a lot of things, so that's attached to it as well. So I do have a video. I'll put a link down below for you to watch if you want a deeper dive in the geekness of the memory cards. But for the most part, when you look at your memory cards, if I scroll back up, they got a fairly decent picture of it. The SD cards from Amazon, I get SanDisk because the brand I typically buy, and the number is usually up higher, and that's fine. But essentially, you want to look for the class. The class is a C, or the class is a U. This is a ultra high speed 1. This is an ultra high speed 2. This one, don't buy this just because it's faster. Your camera may not even be able to support it. If you look on the back of the memory card, there's a couple rows of pins, or 1 row of pins that look like little brass stripes. The UHS 2 cards have 2 rows of them, and if your camera can't touch the second row, you just wasted your money purchasing that very expensive card. Yes, that'll be expensive. So you want to stay on this column for the most part. If you want a very fast card, as you can see, we get 30 megabits per second here. And if you need it on a budget, go to the class C with a 10 megabytes per second. So like I said, at the end of this video, or down to comments rather down below, make sure you check it out. I have a video on how to determine which SD card to use. So more than one, carry them with you wherever you go. Put some spares in your glove box, low end ones, because I don't know what the heat's going to do to them. And then take them out once in a while, test them, put them back in. But that's what we got. So hopefully you've learned something in my video today. Hit the subscribe and like button down below. Leave comments, questions. If I said something incorrect, let me know what's wrong, and I will fix that later. And you all have a great day.